Okay, let's get started, everybody. So thanks all for joining today's Sigstore community meeting. And we'll kick off as usual with the project round robin. And let's start with the RICO project. So Priya, I see you have an update there.
Yeah, it's more of a question. We had been thinking about RECOR 1.0 kind of as like a step that we would take before announcing GA. And the main like blocker for that was sharding. And now that we have like successfully sharded the log, and I think we've pretty much caught all the bugs associated and fixed a lot of them. I was wondering if anyone was opposed to start planning for RECOR 1.0 or what people were thinking about it. I noticed that some of the issues were tagged with like GA candidates. So I was wondering if that is like the same as RECOR 1.0 and if like those are the issues that would need to be solved before 1.0 or if that's kind of more related to something else. I'm not as, I guess like I was hoping someone who's like more familiar with RECOR would be here who can answer this question.
Any RICO folks on the call care to comment?
Yeah, it's all good. It seems like maybe neither like Luke nor Bob is here, so I could just ping them separately.
Okay. Okay, and yeah, maybe if folks do show up, we can revisit that one.
Cool.
Cool. Any updates on Fulcio? Okay, let's move on to Cosign, and this is Zach has an item that for discussion. You want to go ahead, Zach?
Yeah. So go ahead and read this document. I think Hayden shared it in the Slack last week, but I will post it again right after this meeting. It's something that Hayden and I wrote. Basically, at the moment, when you type Cosign Verify, and you Cosign Verify an image or you verify blob some file, it checks that there is some signature and that signature verifies. It doesn't check who that signature comes from. So it is very easy to make Cosign Verify happy even if you are evil. And so that's bad. That's a pretty dangerous default behavior. We've run into some headaches when we're trying to roll out Sigstore support to the Python ecosystem, where people ran into this. It's a little bit of a foot gun, and so our proposal is to make it required to pass at least one basically filter or requirement on the signature when you are calling Cosign Verify. The idea is that you don't just verify that some signature checks, you verify that the signature corresponds to either a key or an identity that you care about. So there's some details about the flag names and stuff in there, and I would love to bike shed those. The one thing that this does break is the very useful for debugging purposes. I'm just going to run Cosign Verify, see what it spits out, and try to like that information is useful to me. So we're going to replace that with a new command called Cosign Inspect. The idea is that Cosign Inspect just says, let me print out a bunch of information about this signature, this object, whatever. That's going to be really helpful for debugging it. It may or may not be publicly documented, but it definitely isn't going to be the recommended workflow for doing a verification in a pipeline or whatever. So please send us your comments. But I wanted to share that out. And I would like to not go too much into detail on this call, but I would like to hear if anyone has really strong objections to the idea in principle of making some identity flag or key flag required. All right, I'll count down from 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, then we'll debate all the details on the document, and I am happy to talk about the decisions and the reasons we made them, and revisit any of the details. But yeah, that's the proposed chance. And so we'll come back with a sort of timeline. We'll probably deprecate it in one version, and then actually make this behavior an error in a future version after that. Cool.
Okay. Thank you, Zach. And yeah, just for posterity and for the video, Sebastian shares a very enthusiastic yes in the chat, and Lily says, sounds like a good set of changes. And yeah, I +1 that. Andres +4 it. Yeah, any comments if folks want to make? Thanks for the nice outline, Zach. And yeah, and it's also good to see just the result of feedback coming directly from the folks trying to use it with the package managers. So yeah, appreciate that. Okay, no bite shedding on that one right now. Okay, Goodsign.
Yeah, so no major feature updates here. It's been a bit of a lull, but one thing I just want to highlight that other people might be interested in is we're probably going to start taking a look at basically source attestations and how we can start attaching those to the repo. So if you are interested, please leave your thoughts. This was originally discussed in an issue in the Cosign repo way back when. It was sort of kicked off by Matt. But we sort of moved the discussion into the Goodsign repo, and it's something that we're probably going to start playing around with. So if you have thoughts, opinions, suggestions, let me know.
Nice. Okay, any questions for Billy on that? Okay, let's move on. Thanks, Billy. Any updates from any of the integration projects or root or policy controller? Okay, nothing there. So Sigstore GA.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to add some stuff in. Yep, we're just tugging along. I'm working on getting our on-call set up this week. So we're going to start dry run for on-call, just like business hours, just to update playbooks and like make sure everything's running smoothly. And we have just generally a list of issues that we're working through slowly. So if anyone's interested in helping, definitely let me know.
Nice. Good luck with all that. Okay, thank you. Okay, Sigstore logo refresh. Yeah, just to confirm, we had the final round of approval from the TSC on the issue, and now there is a pull request I just created today with the new design file, and importantly, an updated brand guideline. So that gives just an overview of the new logos and just kind of recommendations for like minimum sizing and color schemes and things like that. So once that is merged and we can get a couple of approvals on it, then all the files should be available in Git for use, and we can start updating various assets and then start using the new logos for Goodsign, Full CO Rico, etc. And then following that, if there's requests, I know there was a little bit of a pipeline of new logos for like policy controller and maybe other things. We can start addressing those separately as well. Any questions on logos? Okay, moving on to docs. So yeah, last time Lisa had mentioned kind of pulling out the docs repo. Lisa, do you want to give an update and any further work on that?
Yeah, so this was approved last week, and I created the repo. It's basically an empty repo right now. I'm working on closing off some of the existing issues, and I tag them for the docs site and the dev site in case anybody else is interested in taking a look at the ones that are still existing, and then I'll work on the migration piece.
Great. So any blockers from your side, or are you all clear to do what you need to on the docs?
Yeah, I don't think that there's blockers. I will need help with just pointing that website to it, but I think Dan knows that already.
Okay, great. And yeah, a couple of other things I was just going to add on docs, and I can see Eduardo's on the call as well. So I know we had kept thinking of setting up a docs call. I was going to propose, maybe not at this meeting, but at future community meetings, if if we don't have a heavy agenda, we can use like the last half hour maybe for a little bit of a working meeting to start going through some updates on the main website, the docs, the GitHub repos, some of the other work like logo updates and things would be good, updating about status of GA and things like that. So yeah, if we've got enough of well, just a handful of people who are up for that, yeah, let me know what you think. Cool, I see some nods, Lisa and Eduardo. And yeah, one final thing I did want to broach here, no decisions to be made, but the case of Sigstore, we just had the brand guidelines updated, and then there's this open question of like we use Sigstore with a lowercase, but we find it increasingly difficult when we get coverage in press or in other places. People will tend to use it with an uppercase S, and I do feel maybe it's time to stop fighting that and just kind of go with the uppercase, but formalize that as well, because I'm starting to see some cases where people will capitalize both S's in Sigstore. And I think it's worth having a style guide as we launch into some docs changes. So maybe one question is there any, like, what do people feel on kind of the capital S versus not and in this call? Anyone very attached to it or anyone very not attached to it? Only Tracy cares.
I care too.
Okay. Okay, I'm not hearing any strong feelings here, but I'll kick off something written as well, so we can get some wider input. Okay, from docs to outreach and events. Oh wait, Sebastian says, just last week I was trying to figure out what the preferred casing was. Yeah, no, totally agree. I think people are increasingly asking for reference and standardization on this. I had concluded that you wanted Sigstore capital S, but I guess I was wrong. I think you're right, that you're just in the future. So we'll get there. Okay. Outreach and events. Folks here, I was wondering how many managed to catch the new style office hours last week? Did we have a bunch of folks who were on that? See a couple of hands. Yeah, I wanted to get any thoughts on how you thought that went. And I put the link in there for anyone who hasn't had a chance to catch up. We had 3 presentations, one from Fabian Kamel on confidential computing from Edgeless, the Python world of URL lib3, and then also Rust demos. Actually, it was 2 Rust demos, and then Jason also showed T-log registry, so pretty packed. Any comments on what worked and maybe what improvements we could do on that?
I think it will be hard to follow up the first one because it was really good. Some good projects.
Awesome. Okay, challenge accepted. But yeah, no, and I think one of the things we would like to do is for each of the little demos, not little, but the quick, concise demos, but we would love to have a follow-up kind of write-up on the website, because they all of them had quite good insights. And Fabian's been great, and he's kicked us off working with us on a case study. So I've put that in the doc if folks want to take a look, and I'll be looking to see if we can get that up on the Medium site. And then looking ahead to the next one, which will be next week. So far we have the GitHub Action demo from folks from Trail of Bits. So that's for Python, and I am going to go hit up the Java folks. I know they've got an upcoming release for the Java library version 1.0, so hoping they can come along and show us the work in progress or the 1.0 version. If anybody else has got an integration or a shiny new feature that deserves a little bit more of a show and tell demo, please add yourself to the agenda or hit me up if you have any questions about the format and want to check on stuff first. Okay, moving on. So this is a big announcement. Happy to finally report we do have a thumbs up for a Sigstore at KubeCon North America, which will be in Detroit in October. So the format CNCF have agreed to is that we will have it as a one-day single track on the Tuesday, so the day before the main program. And we have a room for about 200 people, so not massive, but I think just should be a good space to grab a bunch of the community and bring them together, as well as introduce a bunch of new folks to Sigstore. So we've been given a set of tasks, and I'm starting to pull folks in to help. But we're looking at the official announcement with a website, call for papers, sponsorship brochure, and registration, all kind of coming together to be available on August the 1st. And then the CFP will run for a few weeks, and then we're looking to have a schedule announced September 13th, which is about 6 weeks ahead of the conference. So yeah, folks, do keep an eye out for the call for papers and for registrations for those who can be there in person. And if your companies are interested in sponsoring, there is a brochure. The official one will be out on August 1st, but I can send a kind of mock-up if folks want an early look at it. It's pretty standard for all CNCF co-located events. So you can also take a look at the existing ones, and it's all the same tiers. Any questions about SigstoreCon at KubeCon? Yep, I'm very excited about that one, so it's good. Okay, and the only other event I'm aware of is that we've got in September Open Source Summit EU is coming up, and I believe a bunch of folks from the community will be attending that, and a couple of talks as well. Okay, moving on to any other business. This one I wanted to highlight. We're going to make an attempt to share a Sigstore monthly update. I believe Luke's done some in the past before, but I've dropped this document in an attempt to maybe formalize it a little. And the main thing is just that we'll have a due date and a publish date for putting together a post. And then the idea is if you have any new and noteworthy stories or links or features, you drop them in this document, and then I'll be working with Roxanne, who some of you may know from other open source communities. She's a fabulous author and editor who'll be helping turn it into a comprehensive post. So that should include things like maybe the 3 million RICO entries, or if Santiago writes a separate post, we'll link to that. So yeah, please go ahead. Action item is just drop in any updates Sigstore related into that doc. Okay, moving on. Marina, you have a transparent TUF proposal.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw this out there. This is just a proposal for kind of more integrations between Sigstore and TUF. Specifically, it really looks at solving this problem of how do you know which signatures on images or other things you should actually trust? Not just that it's signed, but who's signing it, why you trust this person to sign it. Basically, by using TUF with a couple of modifications and collaborations with the existing Sigstore tools. The doc does go a lot into TUF details, and so I encourage folks to maybe take a look at that at TUF before attempting to grok this one, but everyone's welcome to take a look. I appreciate any feedback. There's definitely some details around the exact integrations with projects that are still to be worked out, and so if anyone wants to talk about those kinds of things, happy to chat. So just wanted to kind of let everyone know this is something I was thinking about. So, yeah, get any feedback.
Yeah, that looks good. And I'm seeing a red heart from Sebastian, and Sebastian is currently winning Commenter of the Day award. So thanks for that. As soon as those logos get sorted, the next thing is swag. We're going to have to get some swag going here. It's good. Thanks. But yeah, no, thanks, Marina, and call to action, everybody. Do take a look, and any questions or comments, add them in there. Okay. Zach, architecture docs.
Yeah, so this is just a follow-up from a discussion that's been happening in Slack. We are finding as we have more and more Sigstore clients that they need guidance in how they work. If we're doing a Python implementation, if we're doing other implementations, it's really nice to not have to just reverse engineer the Go code, especially because many of the decisions in the Go code were made not on purpose, but rather evolved. So we are very interested in kind of having somewhat formal documentation for all the components of Sigstore and their APIs and so on. To some extent, that role is met by the gRPC and proto specs, but I think there's a whole lot more color that can be given by a formal specification. So to that end, we've started up a Slack channel to discuss what would the process of writing up slightly more formal documentation look like, and that's been happening in the architecture docs channel in Slack. I just wanted to make an announcement. We're having a kind of exploratory kickoff meeting next week at Thursday, August 4th, 1 p.m. Eastern time, and I'll let you all do that translation. Apologies if you can't make it. We tried to meet the times of everyone in that channel, but you may not all be inside of that channel. If there's a bunch of interest, we can consider rescheduling, of course. But yeah, just wanted to advertise both the channel and that meeting, and hopefully see you in Slack.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I think that's great timing for having those kind of conversations as we see fast progress on the various languages. Questions, comments, or any other topics? Otherwise, we'll move on to the section of the call where we do introductions for anyone new or someone who's returning or hasn't spoken for a while and would like to just say hello and share what their interest in Sigstore is or what they're looking forward to doing in the community going forward. Anyone would like to say a couple of words or introduce themselves? Yeah, Alvaro, go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. I'm Alvaro Figueroa from Costa Rica. I'm working right now in Microsoft, but I also do a lot of things for Slackware on RISC-V and also for Mariner on RISC-V. So I'm very interested in see how can I apply Sigstore to this distribution. So thank you, everybody.
Awesome. Yeah, no, welcome. And always exciting to have someone from Costa Rica. Any other intros?
I guess people might already know me. I'm not sure. But I'm Sebastian Awad from Anaconda. I previously worked on Tough and Optane and stuff like that. I'm responsible for the whole software supply chain thing at Anaconda currently, which is a lot.
Wow. Yeah, no, thrilled that you can join us. And as I mentioned, yeah, no, thanks for jumping in on a lot of those topics. So glad you could be here. Okay, any other intros? And I'll add, yeah, always, whether you're just joining, do feel free to get involved and suggest topics or things you'd like to see. We have this meeting for contributors and then a little bit more for end user focused one every alternate week. So that will be next week's office hours. And yeah, as always, feel free to hit me up if you want to broach any questions or topics you think might be interesting, but you maybe don't want to ask in the big group. With that, I don't see any more raised hands here, folks. I think we'll call it a day. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining, and see you next week.